Yeah, it's like I think what bothered me the most about the whole thing.
Wait, are you ready to jump in
Well,
to talking about the book?
how do you usually start?
I usually introduce the podcast and
All right.
introduce you
Well, then
first.
start there.
So let's introduce the podcast first. I mean, you're ready to go. Like we're gonna give the people what we want, what they want. We're gonna
Yeah.
jump in immediately. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, listener, and welcome to We've Read It One Night, the podcast where we talk about the books that make you want to stay up all night reading. And like I said, we're giving the people what we want. And today we're talking about Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reid, the book this time, and also probably still a little bit about the show. And I am so glad to be joined today by my friend Braun. Braun, do you have any way you would like to introduce yourself?
Um, I've been friends with Allison a very long time. Local gay icon in our hometown, I guess.
True. True.
And I'm very excited to talk about this topic because the show has changed my life in a really odd way. So,
I'm I was so glad to hear when I found out that you had watched it because I felt like so picture this, listener, let me set the scene. I, being a romance reader, know that Heated Rivalry is coming out, and we're on the way to our 10-year high school reunion. And I'm in the car with Braun and our other friend who is also gay. And I was like, I'm in a car with two gay men. Got to make sure that they know about the gay hockey show coming out. I was like, you guys heard about this show coming out? And neither of you seemed particularly enthusiastic. So I was not going to make bets that you were going to watch it. But then you were like, so not only am I Braun, who have not wanted to come on the podcast anytime Allison has asked, I am
here.
now not only do I want to come on the podcast, but I want to come talk about this show and the book because we read the book.
Well, you're right. We also read the book. A lot of it has to do with like there's not always a lot of media out there that's like catering to, you know, gay relationships, at least like in my
Yeah.
context, right? Like maybe there's a lot of lesbian media out there that I'm not
No,
privy
Ron.
to. I don't know,
No,
but probably not.
I am sorry to say, as much of as there is a lack of male queer media, there is even less
Right,
women with sapphic media, like even less.
right. I mean, you know, Carol's the only thing that comes to mind for me, and that's fine. Um,
And that's like, you know what I mean? Like that's one, and that's from a book published in the 1950s. So we got one.
anyway, I'm not the expert on that topic, but I can say that like yeah, to watch that media and to have grown up this way, it's very impactful in a way that I just couldn't quite describe. And I can tell you that, like, I've talked to other people who've had a very similar experience with it. Like, they just don't know what to do with it because they've never seen anything quite like it, and
Hmm.
it's never made them feel quite like they feel. And I
Yeah.
guess, like, you'd equate it to seeing, The Notebook and going, wow, like, I really relate to that. That's such a sweet love story.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can really say.
But yeah, I mean, even the Notebook, they die at the, I mean, they die after a long, full life, but they still die at the end. Like this is, especially with queer media, and I've been seeing other people, and I feel like you probably felt this way too. I've been seeing other people talk about this online where they're like kept waiting for the other shoe to drop in Heated Rivalry. They were like, okay, when's one of them gonna like be revealed to have gotten AIDS, or like one of them is gonna die tragically, or like they're
Right.
gonna have a homophobic slur thrown at them, or like something. You know what I mean? You're like, queer people don't get happy endings in like mainstream media.
No, no. And even if it is a happy ending, there's some sort of conflict that seems insurmountable. And this is
Right.
not quite that. It's just a love story. And right, like season one is weaving, at least we're talking about the show and not the book for a
Yeah.
second. Season one is weaving together two very different styles of love stories. So it's not even like you get
Right.
a one and done. You're getting two different universes of love story. One's very reserved and takes a long time. The other one's very
Mhm.
quick, very sudden.
That's the lesbian representation, if anything. I made the joke like Scott and Kip are the lesbian rep are the U-Haul lesbians.
Like I was just saying, yeah, did Scott and Kip get U-Haul? Yes. A little bit. At least it was up to Scott. I can give Kip the benefit of the doubt for just going along with it, but
Oh, I mean,
nevertheless.
Scott was, I mean, Kip was like, I live in Brooklyn and this man with an apartment right next to where I work is offering me like a rent-free bed.
Right.
Like, of course I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, if wealthy hockey player man was like, "Oh, I just don't want you to leave. Like, stay in my bazillion-dollar penthouse,"
I'm
I'd
like,
be like,
yeah.
All right,
If you insist, okay.
like, all right." But
Okay.
point is, like, two different stories, but
Yeah.
in both stories, there's not a conflict other than we play hockey and we're gay, which can be a lot for people, right? Like, coming out
Right.
is a big thing. It's not
Especially
easy.
in the NHL. Like the NHL is like by far the most homophobic professional sport.
Right, right.
Like more so than football. Like there's never like they're right in the show. Like they talk about it. Like there has never been an out queer male hockey player. There are in other professional sports out queer players. And obviously women's sports is just like, it's weird if you're not sapphic in a lot of
Right,
those,
right, right,
especially
right.
like hockey, like that, you know what I mean? You're kind of expected to be sapphic. But in male sports, but like especially hockey, like there's such like a conservative. So like there's no like villain, but the villain is hockey, I guess. It's like or the antagonist is hockey.
Yeah, if you had to identify a villain, it would be hockey in general, right? But
Yeah.
even so, as is pointed out both in the book and the show, that's not really an insurmountable issue, and spoilers, it is surmounted, like it's
Right.
handled,
To an
right? Like
extent, yeah.
that doesn't happen a lot
No.
in most other media. There's oh my God, somebody's family, there's a bully, you're in a Republican town, like I don't know,
Yeah.
pick your poison.
Yeah. And I mean there is Ilya being Russian. And
Right.
that was something I noticed when I was first watching the show, and then obviously that was in the back of my mind when I was reading the book was like there's kind of this like unevenness in terms of like the external pressures on their relationship because like yes, like neither of them are out. They're both playing in this like conservative sport. Shane has like mega anxiety and like is very autistic coded and like has been the authors confirmed he's autistic and like he's a BIPOC man playing in a mostly white sport, like all of that. But I'm like, Ilya would literally be like possibly put to death in his
Right,
country.
right. And there's a lot of different stakes for him. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's made clear throughout that, at the end of the day, like Shane has some privilege with this, right? Like he has a very
Right.
supportive family. He lives in Canada. Different situation than Ilya's in. Like Ilya almost has the opposite.
Yeah.
So that's like I guess something to address and grapple with at the initial. They're not coming at this from the same thing. It's almost like you could look at Shane and go, well, why wouldn't you come out? Like, there's no reason why you wouldn't in a way, except for hockey.
Right. Except for the fact that it would, ruin his career. Like it's not like an if in a lot of ways. And you see that in the second book. So this ends, I mean, this literally ends with them driving off into the sunset, but there's still like unresolved
Sure, sure.
issues. Like they're still in the closet. In the book, we get an epilogue where they come out about their charity, but like in the show, they haven't even come out. They're like that's just like a plan. So it's what we call a in romance lingo and a happy for now instead of
Right,
a happily ever after. And
right,
happy for nows are usually in a series and also like YA romance where you're like, okay, they're teenagers, so like we're not going to pretend that they're definitely going to get married, but like they're happy for now. But when people read the book, they were like, oh, this is like we want more of them. And so that's why there's a second book in the series that's about them, and there's going to be a third one coming out later this year that's like also about them. But in the second book, when they're outed.
Okay.
And and I mean in the epilogue of this book, Shane says like we get that Shane has come out to his team. He hasn't told them about Ilya, but they've been like his team is supportive about him being gay, but then the moment that they find out that he's gay with Ilya, they like turn against him. Like it's like massive bullying, like he's got to leave. And it's so interesting like from a narrative perspective how much like their rivalry is like even though they both have all these like structural like cultural aspects that are like keeping them in the closet, keeping them apart, like they also have this rivalry that like nobody else like they're not just like two random hockey players
Right.
who are gay and want to be together or who are queer because Ilya's bi. Um, like their rivalry is such the thing that is both keeping them apart and also like drawing them together. Like it really is like a heated rivalry.
Well,
Roll
it's
credits.
it's an apt title for the book. I mean, yeah, as much as the rivalry is keeping them at a distance, it's also bringing them together over
Yeah,
and over and over again. And that's like part of the slow burn of it, right? You
right.
know, yeah, they're not supposed to be together, but yet they keep ending up in the same place, in the same room, and you
Right.
know, even playing together at times.
There's this like quote at the beginning of it, like Ilya's having this eternal monologue where he's like, we were supposed to stand alone at the top. Like we were both supposed to be the best alone, but we will always be there together. We will keep climbing until no one else can reach us, but it will always be together. Like they're the only two people in the world who can like understand what the other is going to, but they also like there's a little bit of resentment that
Right.
like you can't be alone, but also like you're like, oh, I'm glad I'm not alone. You know, it's like it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's easy, like in relationships in general, it's easy to feel alone sometimes because, if you're doing something that, maybe your friends aren't doing, or
Hmm.
you just have something that sets you apart, everybody wants to feel understood. And I think this book partially is about, and the show, it's partially about being understood. Who can understand a Shane? Who can understand an Ilya? And really, the answer is that Shane can understand an Ilya and an Ilya can understand a Shane, and they both just happen to be in this very odd, unique situation.
Hmm.
Like, that I think that's pretty purposeful and pretty apparent
Hmm.
that there's that connection there. And
Right.
it's just a magnetic connection, a connection both we both play hockey, some of those basics, but also just for some reason these two people were meant to collide.
Right. Yeah, it really is like a soulmates thing, like a fated mates kind of like, invisible string,
Right,
red
all
string of
that,
fate kind
yeah,
of.
all that invisible string stuff is like very apparent here,
Yeah.
and I mean that's really the main driving force because like even there's times that these two aren't really getting along or they're not talking to each other. There's
Hmm.
long periods of time, and
Yeah.
right, like yet they end up coming back always. Like there's not an
Yeah.
event where they don't. Now, you talk about the end of the book in the series, or at least season one of the series,
Hmm.
and the first book. Yeah, I mean that would be a stark difference where the series cuts off a little sooner than the book does. The book goes on to give a little
But like
epilogue.
more or less it's to say, we don't really need to
Yeah.
see their press conference. And like that may I
No.
could even see them like beginning season two with like that press conference, as a way to
Yeah, right, right. Like I mean like from that perspective it makes sense, but these two clearly have there's a connection there and that's what this whole thing's about. Otherwise they wouldn't have that.
yeah. And it's such a faithful adaptation. Like it literally like pages of dialogue that are just like straight up in the show. Like they just went copy paste.
Yeah, and that I mean part of that was striking to me because a lot of you do this more than I do. This is your area of expertise, but a lot of book adaptations aren't quite
Hmm.
they're not taking pages of dialogue and putting it in a
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
This they very much were. I
Yeah.
mean, I was struck by some of the similarities, to be honest, or some of the depth they went into.
Yeah.
Certainly, there are things they went more in depth in the show than they did in the book, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah, but for the most part, like the book is really just the show with the internal monologue. And you even
right.
got, I would say, like at least 75% of the internal monologue, like just from like the micro expression, like sparkly puppy dog eyes that like those two actors are able to do.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what's missing from the show that's in the book is the internal
Hmm.
monologue, what both of them are thinking or what both of them are feeling.
Yeah.
The show has to show that in a different way, and that makes sense. That's,
Yeah.
part of the program. But there
Yeah.
is something missing there. Like I don't want to say that there's not.
Yeah, I mean, I th there were changes that they made in the show where I was like, "Oh, I thought that was a really good change." And like I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like I can say them like as we kind of like go through the book. But there were also things where they were in the book and I was like, "Oh, like I actually liked the way that this was done better." You know what I mean? It was like very equal. Like I wouldn't say like one was better than the other. And I mean, like, obviously, you have to change things when you adapt.
Sure.
I think for this, like, as a romance reader, it was really just the fact that it was made by people who, like, actually like romance. You know what I mean? And, like, actually wanted to, like, respect the happily ever after and, like, the queer joy and, like, weren't, like, I mean, like, Jacob, the creator, like, literally, like, slid into Rachel Reid's DMs and was like, hey, I really love your books. I want to adapt them. Like it was very much like a fan
Right.
making this show. And that is very clear because so often, because like romance gets dunked on, like it just gets like poo-pooed by everyone, you know? And but it's like the highest grossing genre. So it gets a lot of adaptations, but it's adaptations by people who like openly disdain, the source material. So it's refreshing to get something that's like so willing to be faithful.
Yeah, and really, I mean, that's what we have here. It's very faithful to the book.
Hmm.
Different where it needs to be, some embellishment here, some embellishment
Yeah.
there, but otherwise,
And I liked that they added Scott and Kip to like the season that they kind of showed them because they do happen like simultaneously for the most part in the book. I mean, Shane and Ilya start first, but like just like in the show, it kind of happens simultaneously.
right. Well, I think, you know, not having read the second book, but knowing generally what happens and, the details from the first book, I
Well, Heated Rivalry is the second book in the series. Sorry, I didn't...
okay, I
Yes,
didn't know
Scott and
that.
Kip are
I didn't know
first.
that.
Scott and Kip are the first book,
Oh,
and Heated Rivalry is the second book in the series.
I didn't
So
know
they
that.
went out of order. But Heated Rivalry, but again, like Shane and Ilya, like they have another, like the sixth book in the series is also their book. And there's going to be a
Okay.
seventh book,
Okay.
and that's going to be their book. But the other books are all different couples, which I would assume they're going to because they said they're going to continue to focus on Shane and Ilya for the show. So I assume like next season will be
Okay.
mostly like the sixth book with like the other books, like incorporated and then like the same
A
for season
smattering. Yeah.
3, you know what I mean, the same thing that they did with like
Okay.
Scott and Kip because a lot of them happen like simultaneously. But yeah, Heated Rivalry is the second book. They did go out of order.
Well, I didn't know that, but I do think that people want more Scott and Kip, so
Oh
putting
yeah.
that out there. Um,
The people
like
being me.
I'm more of a Scott and Kip fan than I am a Shane and
That
Ilya
makes
fan.
sense. That makes sense to me. Kip especially felt, I was like, this feels like Braun's type of guy.
Very Braun coated. I yeah, but nevertheless, I thought it made sense to just like why separate them out into different seasons when some of that is happening currently. It's fairly
Right.
obvious. And I think
Right.
it added to the story they were trying to tell about Shane and Ilya that, oh, well, this other thing happened. And it's not
Right.
just that you're saying, the scene we all know, like on the
Yeah.
ice. Okay, like
Yeah.
we've all seen that, but to add the depth to it, that whole episode where it's like, well, how did this happen and what was their
Yeah.
situation, to weave that into the
Yeah.
story
And
makes
it's
the
so rom-com. Like
oh,
Scott and
it's
Kip is so like just like
yeah.
from they meet, it's like a beat for beat, like a fucking Hallmark movie, like rom-com. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like Shade and Ilya are like these just like messy. They're both idiots. It really is idiots to lovers. Like
Yeah.
it's
100%.
them.
100%. I'm
But
frustrated with
like,
them.
but they're also like they're kids. So it's
Yeah,
like such a
fair.
contrast because like we start out like they are like 17 years old when they meet, 17, 18 years old versus Scott and Kip who are like adults with health insurance and like
Right.
jobs.
Well, and even like, Shane and Ilya rag on Scott the whole time. They're like, "Oh, he's so old."
Yeah.
Come on,
And
like,
I
come
think he's only
on.
like a few old years older than them.
Like
Like
what?
I think he's like at like they're like 27, 28 at the end of the series. I think he's like 30, 31. So like
Like
it's not even like
yeah.
he's like 40 years old and like still playing, you know?
Like in
Like
my age, let's calm down. He's not that old.
I'm like simmer down, guys.
But regardless, yeah, like I think, again, it's such a different style of attraction and that's being displayed with Shane and Ilya.
Hmm.
And just such a different situation in a lot of ways. Similar but different, right? And to understand the backstory of that and how it played into what Shane and Ilya are doing,
Right.
like I think it gives a whole new depth of, I'm coming to the cottage,
Yeah.
right? And that's something the book doesn't quite have. It's like, oh, random people who, if you read the first book before, you might know,
Right.
but if you were just reading that book, oh, random people came out on the ice.
Right.
That's nice. I'm
Well, I
coming to the
think that yeah.
cottage.
Well, I mean that's the thing is that like you kind of do to really understand the full impact of that moment. Like you do have to have read the first book, which most people like when the book was coming out, like most people would have read the first or like they see that moment, they're like, "Oh, you know, like, as a
Like,
romance reader,
right.
like you see another couple mentioned and you assume that they have another book." You know what I mean? Like it's yeah.
Right, right.
But like you, obviously you can't do that like in the book like because each book is the individual couple, you can't combine them like the show does like into one story.
Yeah, but I really think that that was a win of the series. Like, I don't know if it
Mhm.
would have had the same impact if it was just like, oh, these super avoidant people just are hanging out all the time and
Yeah.
getting together all the time and just not
Yeah.
not doing anything. I feel
Yeah.
like that added depth that they probably needed.
Yeah, because you don't see you don't get Shane and Ilya, you don't get their happy ending without Scott and Kip. Like
Right.
it's cause and effect. Like there's a straight through line, you know. So like you have to show that.
And I think like to the credit of the series, like if you're just assuming that most people who watch it didn't read the books beforehand.
Right.
That was like crazy. I mean, it was like I've never seen anything like it in
Seeing
my
them kiss on
life.
the ice. And then
Just
I'm
the,
coming to the cottage, like the whole
well, I mean, the whole thing. I mean, the emotional roller coaster I went on watching that was
the whole show or that scene.
both
Okay.
borderline unhealthy. And I have friends who have had like a similar experience with that. Like especially the ice scene. I mean, the ice scene is like people are living off of that. Um,
Like the song choice, like everything about that, like the camera spinning around and then like the camera keeps spinning, but now it's Shade and Ilya, then it's like, you know, like
right.
like everything about that was great.
Just, and it's like I'm watching it. It's before the holidays. I'm a little emo. Okay, like I'm doing my
Yeah,
best to get through.
understandably.
And I'm like seeing this and I'm like, what the heck? Like I'm crying. I'm stressed out.
Did you watch it as it came out, like
Yes.
episode by episode?
Yeah, and I did watch it a second time.
Yes, I've also reheated. That's what we're calling it. When
Okay,
we've
okay.
reheated.
I reheated. but yes, I watched it as it came out. It was an emotional adventure to watch it, and I can't say that's happened to me like with a lot of recent TV shows.
Hmm.
There's been a movie every now and again that does that.
Yeah.
I would say that Call Me by Your Name comes to mind that I had a
Hmm.
similar emotional response to where I was like,
Hmm.
oh, like what is going on with this? Why am I feeling these feelings?
Yeah.
Right? But
That doesn't have a happy ending. I mean, that ends with him crying. Like, it's quite literally the exact opposite kind of ending for this, whereas, like, it's just him, his face for 10 minutes with the credits crying into a fire versus
right.
them driving off into the sunset for 10 minutes with the credits. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally beat for beat, like, the complete opposite ending.
It really is. And, I mean the message of Call Me by Your Name is, like from my perspective, right? Yeah, you'll have these fleeting moments of happiness, being gay, but it's not going to work out. It never does. And that's something to
Eventually, you're gonna
accept
marry
about
a
life,
woman. Yeah.
right? And that just might be the era of the show, like, or the movie. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this was, no, you know what? Yeah, the whole situation and relationship isn't going to be great. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, which we know just generally from life. There's ups and there's downs.
Right.
But you can end up together. Things can work out. You can get over
Yeah.
these seemingly insurmountable things. Shane coming out to his parents, or Ilya just, I guess, like, I don't know, basically
Never being
disaffecting
able to
from
go back to
Russia.
Russia. Yeah.
Like, I mean, the minute that you decide, at least the way the show portrays it, the minute that you decide to be authentic and to be yourself, then you get rewarded because you get what you want, which is
Yeah.
not what
Yeah.
media about this usually is at all.
Yeah. But yeah, particularly queer media. Yeah. And I mean that, yeah, that's the beauty of queer romance is that it's very much and of just like the romance genre in general. It's that like you may be a person who in real life has all these marginalizations and is constantly told that you don't deserve a happy ending. But like, guess what? You deserve a happy ending. And it's going to be like unapologetically happy. It's not going to be happy with caveats. It's going to be like openly
Yeah,
happy. And like, yeah, life is hard. Like, we're not pretending that like you won't struggle, but like the message is like love is enough.
love's enough and being yourself is enough.
Yeah.
I mean, and some of the people that I know that were, I mean, similar to myself, that were impacted by watching that or consuming it however they consumed it. It's not that they're not out or they don't, aren't members of their community, like as an out person, or, in same-sex relationships or even have kids.
Hmm.
They just, I think, if you don't see that media all the time, the same way that like a straight person does, like you see me,
Right.
straight romance all the time,
Right.
shoved down your throat all the time.
Right. I mean, the Hallmark Channel's whole business is just like a
Right,
hundred
right,
straight romances. And like they get one, you get one gay romance every season
right,
on
exactly.
the Hallmark Channel now. Yeah.
But to see that and go, oh, like, wow, this is the first time I'm seeing media representing me, even
Hmm.
if I'm an out person, even if I'm,
Yeah.
married to a man, I have kids, I'm out in my community, in my case, like I'm an elected official, like, you
Hmm.
can cross all these barriers, but until you see the world reflect what you're doing,
Right.
it doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel legitimate. It doesn't feel real.
It feels like you got like a toe in the closet still. You know what I mean? Like there's just like something. Yeah.
Or at least in this climate that you know,
Hmm.
I can do all this, but it's not legitimate because I'm not seeing it reflected in culture. Like it can be taken away, and
Hmm.
that's a scary thing. Like that's a whole different ball of wax, right?
Hmm.
But
Right.
seeing something like this and seeing it blow up so much is very like socially affirming.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so hopeful. It's so hopeful.
So hopeful in a dark place.
Yeah. Like it really is to be as cliche as possible, like a light in the dark.
Yeah, and that I think is probably the best part about it is it just happened to come at such a time that it's just would seem so unlikely to me in my pessimistic view that it would blow up like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it has no reason to,
Right.
yet everybody wants it. Like straight people are talking about, they're like, did you see Heated Rivalry?
Yeah, like they're like this show was like they had like 20 bucks and a dream and like just a bunch of Canadians. You know, like
Yeah.
the tiniest budget, like it only got picked up for US distribution like 2 weeks before the show premiered. Like it was, and I mean it was like the books had a fan base, you know what I mean? They were popular books, but they were popular books in among romance readers, you know what I mean? They weren't,
Yeah.
they hadn't broken containment. So yeah, there's so like the expectation. I mean, no, I mean, there's no better indication of that than like the publisher like didn't print enough books, and that is like there's I think rightful criticism of the publisher for that for like okay, why didn't you print more books for the TV adaptation? But like there is just no way to anticipate the way this blew up.
No, and especially, in a climate where like, people are getting kidnapped in the streets and
People getting
like
murdered in the streets, right?
like you know, I think for same-sex couples and, couples with kids and couples who are married and whatever you are, whatever you're doing,
Hmm.
to see such an optimistic portrayal, like I don't even know how to explain the gravity of that for
Hmm.
people. And I think
Yeah.
it's really not talked about. I think it's really not acknowledged because a lot of people just can't understand it. My family, generally supportive. I'm very lucky, very great.
Hmm.
But, that doesn't mean that they understand that I don't see myself portrayed in media. They see themselves. They
Right.
understand that, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that's a lot of why this show is important to people, and even why the book's important. I mean, to have the book become more popular, like I wouldn't have read the book if I didn't see the show. I
Hmm.
think I had seen the book talked about on Reddit, and I read the description, and it was like hockey rivalry turns into romance, and I was like, I'm good. Like I'm a
Yeah.
big sport. I'm not sporty spice. That's not
Yeah.
me. Um, but in hindsight, yeah, I probably should have read the book.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is very much it's very much hockey light.
Yeah, and
It's
that's what
hockey light. For
they should
sure.
have said that in the description. Hockey plays second act to very hot, steamy sexual romance situation between two men. I would have been like, oh, I'll read that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean this is an explicit book. This is absolutely like a very it's a very spicy.
And I will say that I thought the book was a little bit more spicy than the show.
Well, they
Like,
definitely cut out some sex scenes or like incorporated them into like, montages, whereas like we got the
yeah,
full scene in the book.
right. The book was just a lot more explicit about stuff going on. Like, obviously, like, right, like the show's not porn.
Right? The show's not going to show their dicks.
No, but the book was extremely explicit about things going on at times,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that, and I think the show did what it needed to do to portray that without portraying it. Yes, I would say that's
Right.
true.
While still being very Steven, you know what I mean? It was just like a lot
Yeah,
more like zoom in on their orgasm face than like showing the actual blowjob.
sure, yeah. Yet, I don't know. I don't know if you had this feeling like in comparison, but for some reason, the first time I watched the show, I just had this perception that the show was very focused from Shane's perspective.
Hmm.
And the book just like certainly was not that way. It was very balanced,
Mm.
with the internal monologues, obviously. And even the
Hmm.
second time I went back to the show, I was like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't. But I just like that was my initial vibe. That was like, this is Shane's perspective, and this Ilya person's in his life, and it's like, how are we
Hmm.
dealing with that? And that
Hmm.
may have me been coming like predisposed from like, stuff that I've gone through, like situations that I
Hmm.
have. Like, I've been trying to be open about that, but it's been bothering me.
Yeah. It bothered you that the show felt more like it was from Shane's perspective?
Yeah, like I didn't know quite what to make of it. Like I was like, shouldn't it be more balanced? And I didn't realize it was
Yeah.
supposed to be till I read the book.
Yeah. So I don't know that and I remember you brought this up a little bit before when we were talking about this earlier, but I don't know that I would fully agree that the book is more balanced. Like I do think as I was reading, I was like, this is like a little, it feels like there's a little bit more Shane than Ilya. And I know I haven't read the Long Game, which is their second book yet, but I do know that I've heard people talk about how like Ilya is kind of the main character in that one,
Right.
whereas like Shane is more supporting. I think that yeah, I don't know how to address that from like an adaptation purpose. I know like as a romance reader, like even in dual POV books, and I've seen this in het romance and queer romance, like even when you're getting both POVs, like there's always one that's like kind of the main character and the other one is like the love interest. In het romance, it's usually like the woman's the main character and like the man is the love interest. Like obviously you don't
Right.
have that in queer romance.
Sure. Like you have to make a choice.
Right. Like there is no. But yeah, I don't know. I guess because I think maybe part of it is that like I feel like you get more in the book too. I feel like you get more of Shane's external life because he has his family who are like bigger players. Like shit, like Ilya's family are in, if anything, Ilya's family feature more in the show than they do in the book. Like they have
Yeah.
slightly bigger roles, I feel like, in the show. But like you get more of like Shane's friends,
Hmm.
you get more of his family in both mediums. I feel like you learn more about like Ilya doesn't really have a best friend. Like Shane
No.
has a best friend. Shane has Hayden.
Right.
Ilya
Yeah.
like doesn't really have that. Like he's very much kind of like a lone wolf. And like is part of that, does part of that then tie back into the rivalry, like the way that he like puts on this act of being an asshole. And like to be clear, Ilya is a menace. Like I took several of my like notes like in the book when I would like highlighted stuff in the ebook. My note is just like, why is Ilya such a menace? Like he's so chaotic. But he does also
Yeah.
like, and Shane says this, like he does put on this like this mask of like being an asshole. And so like
Yeah.
he is more of this like lone wolf. And so there's more to play with when you when it comes to adapting Shane because he has more people to like bounce off.
Right. And even like Shane's parents, I think, are a great example of that. Like they're much more involved than Ilya's family.
Hmm.
And like there's reason for that. That's fine. But I think there's a scene in the show that just like didn't exist in the book where I think they just get signed to their teams, right? And there's a scene in the show with Ilya's dad like coming to the US and like, celebrating with
Mm.
him. Like that just doesn't happen in the book. Ilya's family is in Russia, that's it, period.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean maybe that's what the source of that is that like I think Shane probably is the quote unquote main character.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is just because like you're in Shane's world, you're not in Ilya's world. Ilya's
Hmm.
world interacts with Shane's, and that's what it's about.
Hmm.
And the
Right.
book gives some more data about, Ilya's internal dialogue, like, oh, I want to talk to Shane, I want to, Skype him, I want to do this, I want to
Hmm.
do that. I'm stressed that I'm going to break up with him, like the
Right.
motions we go through, but it's definitely like at least this book is Shane's story.
And I feel like now that I'm thinking about like the adaptation, how you felt like the show was much more Shane focused. Like I think that do like speaking of the fact that Shane has more people to interact with, like so much of Ilya's journey is much more internal. And that is
Yeah.
much more difficult to show on the screen.
I mean, how do you show unless you're like, these are my internal thoughts. I'm just
Right?
talking
Unless
at a
you're
screen,
doing the
right? Like,
internal
right.
monologue, which is like, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, like an adaptation thing. Most of the books based on internal monologues with the two of them, right?
Hmm.
Like Shane will have a chapter of internal monologue, and then Ilya will have a chapter
Yeah.
of internal monologue, and the show's trying to deal with that without giving internal monologues to both of them. It's
Right.
just trying to show you. So of
Right.
course there's going to be a barrier there. Like you're not necessarily going to get the depth that the book
Right.
has, and that's just reality. But
Right. That's just an adaptation.
I think the attempt was not to say that the show didn't do that. It's you know, less nuanced than the book is.
Yeah.
I think the other like plot device that's really important, like that's very Shane focused, is like the Rose Landry stuff.
Hmm.
Like that is so much more of a focus, both in the book and the show,
Right.
than any relationship Ilya has.
Right.
Like they mention these people he sleeps with here and there or whatever, they come up.
Yeah.
But it's not like we're like, oh, well, we have this very odd relationship and I'm gonna come out to you. Like, never happened.
Right. Right. Well, because Ilya is, yeah, I think part of that is like him being the quote unquote like slutty bisexual, which is like a tricky subject because of like that's like a
It's
bisexual
situation, right? Like,
stereotype. But it's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's a lot easier for Ilya to pass essentially than it is for Shane or even someone like Scott.
And speaking of Scott, like there is, I did note because I'm interested in Scott in
Hmm.
general, that there's a bit of an interesting, like, different portrayal of him in the book than was portrayed in the
Hmm.
show.
They basically gave Scott all the side characters lines. They were like, we're not gonna hire actors, other actors. We're just gonna give all the lines to Scott, which I thought
Right.
was a smart decision.
A smart decision, and that, like, it made much more introduction of him. Like, otherwise, like, that episode, you would have come up and you'd be like, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like,
You're like, who's this guy?
right? Like, I mean, but also, like, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, the book describes Scott as like a, you know, blonde, white bread American man,
He's
like
Captain
type.
America. And I'm
Yeah,
not using that as a metaphor. I'm using that as the lore is that Scott and Kip are Steve Rogers and Bucky from
okay.
Marvel. Like it as in like it started out as fan fiction and then was like rewritten to be original.
Okay.
So Scott is Captain America, basically. He's Steve Rogers.
Right, but like obviously like, you know, the show Scott is not
He's
quite
much more
that.
rugged, yeah.
Much more rugged.
He did apparently ask Rachel Reid. He was like, "Should I dye my hair blonde?" And she was like, "No." She's
No.
like, I'm very sorry to say, I think that would look very silly. She's like, there's a difference between someone who's naturally blonde and someone who has dyed their hair blonde. And she's like, I think you're fine. It's really not that important to the book.
It was a good
She's
decision.
like, leave it alone. It's okay.
I'm pleased with the show's portrayal.
Yeah.
Um, it worked just fine, at least for my taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think there was even a little different portrayal there, or and I'm saying this not having read the first book, but like I think even Scott was portrayed a little bit like more nuanced and maybe more, rugged, messy than the book maybe was portraying him. But again, I'm taking that with limited experience.
Right, right. Yeah, because you don't really get Scott in this book. Like he's mentioned a handful of times before he like makes his big kiss on the ice.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm saying that like I would love to say that I would be more chill about this, but if I was Kip and I rolled into that apartment, he was like, I just want you to stay here forever. I'm just being honest. I'd be like, this person's psychotic. I don't know if I can do this. Um, as much as part of me would be like, well, this person's hot. Like maybe I do want this. I don't know. Like
Maybe I do.
I'd have to take a beat. I'd have to be like, let's just see how things go. I don't know. Like I'm not gonna stay here today.
Braun is not a U-Haul lesbian, is what I'm getting.
Allison, I, I I would happily be a U-Haul lesbian. Gays aren't as faithful as lesbians are. All right, like that men are terrible
Yeah,
sometimes. And that's another theme here is that kind of I can't say this about Scott and Kip because they're very sweet. But
yeah.
Shane and Ilya like are kind of terrible to each other at times. Like there's really
Hmm.
some interesting, really weird interactions that they're having, and they're not behaving normally. Like there's clearly like weird
Mm.
emotional nonsense going on.
Because they're so repressed.
Like they're so
Like
repressed.
they're so like it's so like, hey, patriarchy hurts everybody.
Yeah. Like it's like let's calm down for a second. And how important really is hockey? Like, you're willing to do all this other random stuff that could jeopardize your career. Like,
Well, like what? Like what else did you think they were doing that was potentially jeopardizing their career?
I think Shane is a little bit better because he's less wild, but like Ilya's
Hmm.
like, I'll sleep with anybody, and I'm drinking, I'm smoking, like, any vice is fine, even though like theoretically all of those individual things could hurt your ability to play the best hockey. Whereas Shane, on the other hand, is like, well, I'm not going to drink. I'm
Hmm.
certainly not going to smoke. Like, maybe he's absolved from that. But Ilya's like, I live on the edge because I can.
Yeah.
It's hard to not read into like, I'm hooking up, I'm hooking with Shane because I can, not because I want to. Like, I'm proving myself I can
Yeah.
do what I want. And
Well,
that
I
would
think
be
that's
like
what it
very
starts
toxic,
as.
like
Yeah.
man thing to do.
Like it's yeah, it certainly starts at that. I do think that there is an element of like so like yeah, like I think Shane is obsessed with hockey. Like hockey is like in his veins. And
Yeah.
Ilya is obviously very passionate about it too, but I think Ilya's connection to hockey is rooted much more in it being an escape from Russia and an escape from his family and it being like a source of independence. But yeah, and I mean there is like the element of Ilya and you get that I feel like a lot more in the book of like a Russia being both a place that he hates but also being home. And I think that that is something that can be difficult for like Western readers to get because the United States and even Canada, I mean, like the West is like so much more individualistic. And there is like an element, and like speaking from like my experience, I'm not Russian, but like also like in Eastern Europe, like family is like so rooted in you in a way that's a lot more difficult to extricate than it is. And I think like the United States and Canada, which is like what we're coming from an American perspective, Rachel Reid's coming from a Canadian perspective. Like Ilya's internal conflict, I think it's really difficult to like for a lot of people to like understand to like get the depth of it when you're not when you don't have that like it's home but I also hate it,
Hmm.
of like this like loyalty to
Right.
family that Ilya because you're like why doesn't he just cut him off? But like there's like this loyalty that is just like so deeply ingrained.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to undo. Yeah, I think there's that aspect there. Like I think sometimes the American way is like, well, your family doesn't support you and they don't make you happy, cut them off.
Yeah.
You got a lot of options, move to like, yeah, the thing would be like move to New York, move to California, like with stuff that people do when
Hmm.
they want to get away from their family in Kansas or wherever.
Hmm.
But, yeah, I don't think those people have the same like connection or nostalgia to their family or their hometown or their home state or their home place that like
Yeah.
maybe, you know, somebody in Ilya's situation would.
Yeah.
And I think like his mom is another like
Yeah.
tie that binds there, right? Like obviously there's some trauma there. We kind of get into it, we kind of don't. But, he might be connected to his family because he is like he's missing his mom, right? Like he wants to feel connected to her, so therefore he's connected
Right.
to his dad. He's connected to his brother, even though in the grand scheme, that just might not be what's best for him or best for his
Yeah.
career or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I do think it's interesting the show added that he had a niece because
Yeah.
the book he doesn't have a niece in the book that like added that extra tie that I think probably was useful in terms of like a shorthand of like just kind of like adding like an extra link to the chain tying him to Russia, because I feel like people are a lot more like, okay, well, he wants to stay for this kid. He
Hmm.
wants to like, rather than like being able to understand why he feels a connection to like his asshole brother and dad.
Right, right. And I think like again, going back to like not having his internal monologue, like it's hard to like understand the nuance of that without
Hmm.
having it displayed in some way. So that's something the
Hmm.
show's, I think, trying to do to say, hey, I'm displaying his internal connection to Russia. It's
Hmm.
easier to explain that through like a kid who you might have a connection with than like I have vague personal ties to my family.
Yeah, this like cultural,
Yeah.
it's like this cultural nuance that's it's hard to articulate on the page too. Like, it's hard to
Yeah.
articulate regardless. And then they also made Svetlana his like childhood friend and like gave
Right.
her, which I liked as well. I liked him having something.
It made it a little more balanced, right? Like certainly, like I'm talking about like how it was, kind of Shane focused, but
Hmm.
yeah, like having those extra ties makes it like okay, like both of them are coming from a place where like they have connections, they're trying to deal with them.
Hmm.
How can they be together in light of those connections or have those connections continue and be together? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I think there's certainly pieces of that.
Hmm. I will say when I first read the book, I didn't know that they used, because obviously they changed the NHL and they changed the team names in the show, but they use NHL and they use different team names in the book. And I read the prologue and I'm like, oh, is this a typo? I was like, what happened to the Montreal Metros?
I did not pay attention to the team names that much, and I
Oh.
just like assume like I don't know the team names. So I'm like, oh, that must be right. Um,
Well, the team names, they're all fictional, but the
right.
NHL was real, but they changed it to the MLH or something like in the show, probably for legal reasons because the villain is hockey.
Sure, sure. Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, that nuance went over my head at least. But I don't know how impactful that is. Like I feel like you got the same like,
Yeah, I was the same. It was just funny to me. I was like,
same
oh.
yeah, yeah. Probably if you were paying attention or at least like it's hard for me to put myself in the shoes of like a hockey fan reading this. Like, like how are you feeling about the teams? And
Well, they're all fictional in both scenarios. Like, it's
sure,
not the real team names for Boston, Montreal, regardless.
but if you were like associating with the real teams, like, oh, well, if the Montreal team's this and this, the real team is the equivalent. Like, if that really happened, like, how would you feel as a hockey fan
Yeah.
reader? That I
Well,
don't know.
that's apparently why they had to change. So in the book, listener, it's Boston uh Bears, and in real life it's Boston Bruins. And they had to change it in the show because Bruin is actually like a old-timey word for bear and like some like
Uh,
Anglo-Saxon, and they were like, that's just too close. And then Montreal Metros is what it is in the show, and it's Montreal Voyagers in the book. And the Voyagers were like minor league hockey team. They were around for like 10 years in like the 70s. So they had to like change that too. Also, Jacob Tierney wanted to make as many dick jokes as possible. And the logos, did you notice this, Braun? The logo for the Metros is essentially looks like an ass, like a someone on their knees with their ass facing towards you. And the
oh,
Boston, whatever the Boston team name is, their
yeah.
logo is a cannon.
Oh,
So it's a
no, no, I did miss that.
and in terms of Scott and Kip, in the book, it's just a blueberry smoothie. It's not a blueberry smoothie with an extra banana. But they were like, we're gonna put that extra banana in there. Like he really was like as many dick jokes as possible.
I figured that that was the case with the banana. I was like, all right, like, come on.
But it's not in the book. It's funny. It's like they like went out of their
Like,
way to add
who's
that.
being clever here with this banana? But I don't know. It's kind of interesting because, like, in some regard, the book is more wholesome than the show because you're getting a lot more internal monologue and a lot more, like,
Yeah.
romantic vibe of, like, oh, like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this person. Whereas the show, like, maybe might be a little more sex forward, even though it's not explicit in the sex scenes.
Hmm.
Or it's like using sex as like a plot driver. It's like, oh, we're hooking up, so we must be developing a relationship. And I think that's because you
Right.
don't have the internal monologue.
Yeah. Basically, they're dummies. Basically, they're both huge, huge dummies for so long. But they also have moments where like the first time they hook up, like in the book, the quote is like Ilya is like 5 minutes late or something for like their first hookup. But Shane is like, and if the knock had come hours later, even Shane still would have been waiting on that sofa. Like,
Right.
or just like the number of times like they're planning to hook up, and Shane's like, he realized he was like brushing his lips, like while he was thinking about this, and like, and the times when like they're sucking each other's dicks, and Shane's like, fuck, that was really gay. No shit.
Obvious. I mean, come on. I mean, and there's like actually like that's an interesting like thing. Like there's a lot of like weird joking about that. Like, oh, like what is gay and what isn't? You know,
Yeah.
oh, we're just two bros like
Two
making
bros.
out and like right, two bros in a hot tub, 6 feet apart, it's
Um,
not gay. Like,
uh, there really isn't. I mean, there's a scene in the show when they're sitting on the couch, like the first time that they like spend the day together after the tuna melts, and it's like
yeah,
two bros sitting on the couch.
it's like nah, like you've been sucking each other off for years. Like
Like
we're
it's
gay,
fine.
a
Yeah,
little bit
Shane's
at
like,
least.
Ilya, I think I'm gay. And Shane, he's like, really? Like,
Shocking.
what? What gave it away?
Florals for spring. Okay, Shane, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Even at like both in the book and the show, there's like moments like that where you're like, oh, like wow, is what we're doing gay?
Yeah. But they're also like, there's no emotions in this. Like, even if it is gay, like, there's no emotion. Like, meanwhile, like, literally after the first hookup, Shane's like, oh, I want to cuddle in bed with him. Like, I just want to cuddle. And you're like,
Everybody
really?
knows. Even if you're straight, if you're like hooking up and you're like, oh, I want to cuddle, like it's a little different than just hooking up, guys. Like little just slightly. That means you have feelings.
It's a lot of feelings.
TM.
And the day when they first hang out, like the tuna melt day, like I forget which of them has this internal monologue. It may be Shane, but he's like, and the craziest part was the best part of the day wasn't even the blowjobs. Like it was hanging out.
It was just being together or just like slightly touching him on the sofa, just slightly.
Yeah, just like a little bit. It was holding hands.
Part of you would be like, how is this not apparent? And we all go through this, right? Where like we want to be in denial about our feelings. Like, yeah, you like someone, but you don't want to be crazy. You don't want to be dramatic. I'm going to be very even keeled about this. I want to be
Hmm.
cool, right? I don't want to come off as too clingy or whatever. And I think a lot of those themes are present here. But there's also a lot of, and I guess this happens in real life, right? Like especially in this situation, like there's a lot of denialism, like being like, well, I am straight, or I'm mostly straight, or I'm partially
Yeah,
straight. So this is just a fling. This is just something I'm doing.
right.
And I think, I don't know, in one sense, I view the show as being, real about that, like being real about that, like coming out struggle. But
Hmm.
in another sense, I'm like, well, is this just like toxic masculinity? Like, why can't these people hook up? Like,
Right.
it's almost portrays there's something wrong with it.
Right. And I mean, it is like it is like the undertone of the book is both that like it's patriarchy hurts us all.
So it's
Patriarchy hurt,
like,
you know.
yeah, so it's like there's almost a conflict there that I maybe is probably intentional actually, like
Yeah.
that both is something that isn't really a problem, but also is a problem.
Hmm.
And
Right.
obviously, like this is a happy ending or happy-ish, happy possible ending. Even this show that we're talking earlier is like so progressive, so like portraying a happy
Hmm.
ending, still has that barrier. Like you don't see a hetero romance that's like, oh well, this isn't like we shouldn't really be hooking up that often unless there's some other outside factor, like they're having an affair or
Hmm.
there's an age gap or some other situation. It's not just two people of similar age is usually like, yep, of course you'd have a romance. That's no problem.
Yeah.
But here it's a problem, you
Right.
know, and I think I guess you can't not address that. I mean, that's just
Right.
better to address it than to blow over it.
I did feel like it was, I mean, more so in the book, it was more explicitly even where like the barrier between their relationship was half like not wanting to come out slash like not realizing that you're gay. And then the other half was very much their rivalry. Like I feel like that was even more emphasized in the book that like their rivalry really was something that was keeping them apart. Like that it would ruin their careers if they were fucking the quote unquote enemy.
I agree. And I think that was almost very explicitly said in the book that
Yeah.
like almost like, well, even if we could find a way to be together, like if they pushed aside everything else, the rivalry would prevent it. Or
Hmm.
that, worry about the teams and how they would react and what
Hmm.
the situation was and the dynamic. Yeah, I think that's true.
Hmm. Because yeah, because even after Scott comes out, they're like, we can't just come out and stay together. Like we have to like establish that we're friends first.
Right.
Like we
Or
have to start a charity
or
together.
change teams and move and like do all
Right.
like this maneuvering to make it work. Like,
Yeah. But I guess I mean that's all that I guess it like that's all that matters is that I do believe that they feel that it's necessary for them. Like me as an outsider who does not give a shit about sports is like you guys are multimillionaires, like calm the fuck down. Like
like
it's gonna be okay.
I
I'm
think
like
we'll make
you're
it
fine.
work.
I think you'll be fine. But they both are so competitive and so competitive with each other. Like even the first time that like they give each other blowjobs and Ilya swallows and Shane's like, he's better at giving blowjobs than me. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
that is so like it's there from the beginning. Like their competition with each other is their foreplay in a lot of ways. And that doesn't always have to be hockey, you know what I mean? It's not like when they retire, like suddenly they'll be out of foreplay. It's in care like to me, I'm like, okay, it really like guys, like it's not that big a deal. Like just it's fine. Like if it like hurts your careers. But it's so well established that like for them that would be life ruining and it would be relationship ruining because it would breed resentment, if either of them like forced the other one to like give up this career before they were ready.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I guess it's hard for me to give that probably the credit it's due because I don't really understand it.
Hmm.
Like I do and I don't. And I think it probably has a lot to do with like I don't know if I'm a super competitive person. I don't know if
Hmm.
I'm a super sporty person, right? So like that part of it, I'm like, I guess I can put myself in your shoes, but I'm not really like 100% there.
But it works for the characters.
It works for the characters, and I think it's also a plot device, right? You know, if not for the rivalry and the competition, then how did we get here?
Right.
Like they might as well have met on Grinder. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
mean, I think in a lot of ways that's a plot device and also is a device to like their attraction.
Yeah, no, them competing against each other is foundational.
Right. Or they would have met, at a smoothie shop. Also cute, also works, but not as much of a slow burn as being, well,
Hmm.
I'm competing with this person. Oh, wait, I like this
Yeah.
person. Years and years. And
Yeah.
like I've seen like the TikToks about this where it's like Heated Rivalry. It's like every other scene's like 3 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, we're making out again. 3 years later. Oh,
Yeah.
blowjobs. Like, I mean, yeah, but that really is the slow burn. And the only thing that keeps that going is the competition and is
Yeah.
that piece.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what they're attracted to. Like I think like if they met in a smoothie shop, I'm like imagining I'm taking that scenario further,
Right.
where Ilya is Scott and Shane is Kip. Ilya may flirt, but they're never like the fierceness that they both bring out in each other is like what they're attracted to. Like primary
Right.
like Ilya's favorite so many times in Ilya's monologue. And I don't know if you read any of like the bonus scenes that are available on Rachel Reid's website. Like there's the Vegas scene like from Ilya's point of view. It's like on her website, like if you want to read it. Like, but so many times Ilya's like my favorite thing to do is like make Shane confused or like mad or like frustrated, like make his like face get all like scrunched up.
Scrunch,
And he is
yeah.
like my favorite Shane expressions. All these things.
Even taking like the initial scene in the hotel gym, right? Where
Hmm.
like they kind of like initially, get together, so to speak, or make plans to get together. If it weren't for that, like that was just like pure competition, who can
Hmm.
outrun who on the treadmill.
Hmm.
If that hadn't happened, like then when would they have gotten together? It would have kind of been like from afar, Shane, oh, I think Ilya's hot, but I'm not going to address that. And likewise, like
But they're also constantly meeting each other on the ice. Like they both play the same position,
they
unless I'm
are,
mistaken. So they're constantly
yeah.
like facing off against each other and like,
But I think like that was like a like to have that one-on-one moment where like we
hmm,
have a similar level of like competition,
hmm,
athletic competition, but yet in
hmm.
a private space
Yeah,
really like takes us to the next level. Otherwise, they're always on the ice. It's not gonna be like,
right.
hey, thanks for playing. Do you want to hook up? Like
You
I
do
think
that later.
right, like I think there's
Two, two,
there's
one, whatever.
I think there's some intimacy there, like that
Yeah.
competition. Yeah, it's not just the competition. Like you need the competition, but then once you put them in a room together, it's like there's still competition, right? Like who gets a better
Hmm.
blowjob, who can run faster on the treadmill. But,
Hmm.
you know, I don't know. It gives like a romantic aspect to it that I don't think would have been
Yeah.
there. Otherwise, it just would have been like, I'm an admirer from afar. Like, take the
Right.
smoothie shop example. That would have never gone anywhere with these two
Yeah.
personalities.
You have to give it room to be like the competition to become tenderness.
Yeah. Ilya and Shane are no Scott. They're not like, come and stay here forever. Ilya gets a little that way, maybe a little
It's
bit.
a little, he's constantly like, it's so sad. And they didn't do this in the show where Shane never lets Ilya come to his house. Like Shane buys a whole fucking apartment built for them to
Well, and that's
fuck
like
him.
that's crazy in and of itself.
That's
That's like,
crazy behavior. That's insane. But Shane like watching like the cottage documentary, like thing, and he's thinking like, oh, I would love to be there. And I would love for there to be a picture of me, next to the bed, these like domestic things. And then, like, the first time where they spend the day together is Ilya being like, I got you ginger ale and I'm making you a tuna melt. Like, and we're watching TV on the couch and we're talking about our favorite tea. Like, we're doing all these things, all these domestic things that we've never allowed ourselves to do before.
and that's part of like missing the internal monologues. Like, I don't know if you get that depth in the show of
Yeah.
like Ilya really, really did want. I mean, like the obsession about like where Shane lives and what his room looks like. Describe your bed, describe your room, describe your house. Like it's almost
Yeah.
like obsessive.
And when they're on Skype together,
Yeah,
like, and they lay down on the bed so that it looks like they're laying face to face. And then we get the explicit parallel call out when they actually lay face to face.
yeah,
Meanwhile, like internally, Shane's like, I wonder if Ilya poisoned this ginger ale. Or he's like, what if Ilya gets stuck and we have to call 911 the
right.
first time they fuck? Like Ilya's like planning a life and Shane is just like a little anxious. He's compared to an angry kid.
Yeah, like just taking it moment by moment. That's probably all he can do. But I think, like, speaking of the apartment, I think another thing that struck me was the book just jumping in, like, with the scene, like, of them, like, fucking in the apartment. Like,
Oh yeah, the
obvi
prologue.
yeah, like, obviously the show doesn't start that way, and that's fine. But I can see why the book did that, where it's, they're trying to draw people in, right? Like, what's this about? Like, what's the situation? Like, well, we might as
Mm-hmm.
well jump right in and figure out, okay, reader, well, how did we get here? What is the
Mm-hmm.
deal with these two professional hockey players?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the show kind of like just started at the start and kind of did the slow burn thing of like, oh, well,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? Certainly a difference not having the prologue.
Well, the show can also do it like faster. Like the show covers so much more ground in that first episode.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
covered like 100 pages in the first
Right. Right.
episode and a half or so. Like, for sure, for sure. But it is like, it's a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show could have like done the same thing and said, "Oh, here's a hot sex scene to start. Oh, by the way,
Right.
these are two professional hockey players. Here's how they met." Like
Right.
I think that was a choice, and I'm not. I'm not unhappy about the choice. Like I was almost jarred reading the book where I was like, oh, we're starting here?
We're starting at the prologue, yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Different.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know that one is better than the other. I feel like it is the choice for that is the internal versus external storytelling in that the book has the luxury of giving us that internal monologue and therefore being able to start with this like the tension is increased because you have this internal monologue of like these people that are like so conflicted and have been doing this for like 8 years at that point in the prologue, and you're like, where's all this history coming? Like there's so much to chew on, and you can't, when you're telling in a visual manner like a TV show, like you don't have that luxury. You can't give people something to chew on without showing it to them. And you can't just drop them in there because you're just like, there's no like context. Whereas like you can do that in a book, you can establish that context.
Right, right. The show just has different tools that it's working with.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just a different medium.
I think the other striking thing that's maybe just handled a slightly different way, at least in my view, was like Shane's relationship with his parents themselves. Like I thought at different times the book would portray his parents more than the show did, but then at other
Hmm.
times it would be less. Like it was kind of like maybe the show started to use them as more of a plot device than they really were. Or even like the coming out scene, like the reason his dad was at the cottage was completely different,
Hmm.
perhaps more plausible in the show. But I mean, yeah, I think there really was like a holistic appreciated. Like you want a good adaptation to do that because there's some stuff in a book that just might become dated or just might not work when you change the medium. Like I don't believe for a second that Shane's dad's if Shane's having a meditation weekend is going to come to his house for dishwasher pods or whatever the hell it was when he could just
Yeah.
go to the store. Coming for your phone charger, I guess that's
Sure.
possible.
Poor David has been like, he's like, my phone is on 1%. Like, I haven't wanted to go to school all these days.
I had I just felt that the book and the show portrayed his parents just like differently. For in
Mm.
some ways, I thought his mom was a little bit more competitive in the show, but
Hmm.
I kind of saw that in the book, so I'm like not sure
Yeah.
what to make of it. And that
Right.
just might be like your specific like actress choice and how
Hmm.
that particular person decided to play that role and everything else.
Right.
Like I don't know where to draw the barrier between writing and just the acting itself.
Yeah, it's just a different. I mean, I do think that they're also talking about the fact that, Shane is half Japanese in the book and the show. But in the book, it's kind of like you could take that out and it wouldn't change the story.
Right.
And that kind of applies to the show too, but at least they like, I feel like it's more explicit. They add more explicit references to that, and so that changes show Yuna's characterization because she is kind of the conduit through which we get Shane's Asian identity in a way that like doesn't really come through in the book.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely it was more emphasized in the show, and there's a good reason for that. I even think of like the initial scene, like right after they first meet, where they're like, I don't know, doing, for lack of a better sport word, tryouts, when Ilya notices Shane up in the stands, like watching
Yeah,
him.
watching.
And I believe in the book, he's with both of his parents, but in the show, he's with just his mother. And, you know, it's certainly not made as explicit as in the book, as in the book, it's like, it's Ilya's eternal dialogue. So it's like, oh, he must be with his parents. Like, his mom looks Asian. His dad
Yeah.
looks like a white bread man, like I don't,
Yeah.
like whereas in the show you're just kind of seeing it
Yeah.
in passing. I wonder about that choice. Like, I mean, maybe what I'm reading into is that the show gave more emphasis on his mom.
Hmm.
Like, I don't really know. I
I
don't
mean, I
really know.
do feel like, yeah, I feel like the mom is the parent, is the parent, the primary parent
Yeah.
in both mediums. But yeah, it's definitely more explicit in the show. I wonder also how much a part of that was like a budget and like they wanted to pay for one actor instead of two, you know?
Right. And there's other factors there, like when you do a show adaptation, right? Like there's
Yeah.
budgetary factors. This was not particularly high budget. But even like in the coming out scenes, like later on, I feel like in the show his mom was a lot more like forward about like, oh, well we can get some merchandising deals about, this like
Hmm.
relationship. Like I don't recall really seeing that vibe in the book.
I think she does that a little. I think she does have that line in the book. The difference I think between the book and the show is for me primarily was the scene where she apologizes to Shane, and I don't think that happens in the book. In the show they have that whole scene, and that again speaks to like you were saying, Yuna being more of a presence in the
Yeah.
show versus it's more equal between the parents in the book.
Yeah. It's just like I think a decision was made to just emphasize that relationship, and it just manifested in different ways, like different
Hmm.
additional scenes and so on and so forth. Just like in a similar way that people were added to and supplemented in Ilya's family, just give more background, more color.
The most unrealistic part to me of this whole of both the book and the show was the fact that two professional 28-year-old hockey players couldn't polish off 8 burgers. The fact that in both mediums they're like, "Oh, this is too many burgers." I'm like, "You are
Right.
pro athletes and boys in their 20s.
And you
What
like
do you
work
mean?"
like worked out all day.
Yeah,
Like
and fucked on it, like in every capacity. I was
come
like,
on.
a woman that is not a pro athlete, could do like 2 burgers if I had to. You're telling me you guys can't, like, that's how many burgers
Before,
you can do? Like,
right.
you also can only do 2 burgers? A lie. A
I
lie.
I agree. I agree. 100%.
What was your favorite part of the book? Book, not show.
Hmm. I'm trying not to conflate them
It's hard.
because they are similar.
They're so similar.
I think for me, I liked having the internal monologues in the book,
Hmm.
particularly Shane struggling with like where Ilya was. Like, that question of like, does this person like me or am I just like making it up? Like
Hmm.
really resonated with me. Like I've gone through that before.
Hmm.
And I think the internal monologue was really valuable to me because it gave me like my internal monologue in my life a voice, right? Like other
Yeah.
people go through this. It's like this is normal questions to
Yeah.
ask yourself. Or at least normal
Yeah.
for me and Shane, normal for everyone else. I don't
Hey.
know. Like that real struggle of, what is going on here? And really
Hmm.
asking about it and being critical about it to yourself. And
Hmm.
I found a lot of value in that. And I enjoyed reading the struggle, I guess.
Yeah, the internal.
Yeah, and part of that was, naturally lost in the show. Like, and that's okay. Like it's shown in different ways, but
Yeah.
the book just came across as more authentic and more raw emotionally to me because of that.
Yeah. Because you can put in more of the emotions,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
incredible as like the micro expressions and the acting was with our two leads, like in terms of showing emotion
Oh, yeah. Not to say
in
it
the
wasn't well
show.
done.
But yeah, you just can't, you can't. You can't when you're competing with an internal with like pages of internal monologue. You can't compete.
Yeah, like and like literally pages,
Yeah.
like full explanation, full
Yeah.
running through of feelings and what's going on and what's going to happen next and oh my God. And
Yeah.
I connected with that because it's a real struggle. Like if you're really, in a new relationship or a new whatever,
Hmm.
you really, at least I do, run through it with myself. Oh, like is this something or am I nuts? Am I crazy? And I
Right.
think Shane does a lot of that in particular. Ilya has a little more confidence, so maybe he doesn't do it as much. He's like, well, I know Shane likes me, but I don't know what I'm going to do about that.
But I think he's also like Ilya's also like very much like he likes me, but does he like me enough to like make me a part of his life? Like there is a moment when I feel like when they switch
Yeah,
sort of
for sure.
perspectives where like yeah, Ilya's like is he just with me because like I'm a man that he can hook up with and he doesn't want to like go through the effort of hooking up with someone else, of like finding someone else to do this with secretly or like whatever.
Right. I feel like their perspectives kind of shifted when like they had the incident where Ilya like called Shane by his first name. And that was almost kind of
Oh yeah.
like where things started to switch. It was like Ilya started to be like, "Oh, well, yeah, maybe I do really like him. Like, I don't know. Like he might not feel the same way. I'm just gonna kind of break up with him because I don't want to deal with it." Like that whole
Yeah. I mean that what yeah, because Shane freaks out because Shane's the
yeah.
one that pulls back. But that was such a romance thing.
Yeah.
That was such a like particularly a historical romance thing because historical romance is so much like you call each other by your surnames or you call each other by your titles or like whatever. And then like the moment that like you start calling each other by your first name, it's like this huge shift and like it's a 50-50 chance whether the other person is gonna freak out. And so like
Right.
the moment that happened, like in the show and the book, I was like, I know
Uh-oh.
what's coming. I was like, these idiots are in for a big one.
Yeah, and it's like I think some of it just frustrate your reader or your viewer, right? Like we intuitively understand, from what we're seeing that obviously they like each other and
Yeah.
there's like a romantic emotional component. But then there's some denialism on both sides,
Yeah.
particularly on Shane's side that that's
Yeah.
happening or that that's okay, and yeah, I mean, part of it's obviously designed to give some conflict or to give some
Yeah.
color to their story. You know,
But it's a lot easier to be like, oh, why are these people being such dummies when when you're in both of their heads, they're only in
right.
each other's heads.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like to understand the perspective of, well, yeah, okay, like yeah, I've done this. I've been through this type of similar thing in maybe
Right.
a slightly different context.
Right.
And that's not to say it like devalues like the ending at all, right? Like that's actually a very, as you point out, historical romance, like a very normal romance thing to go through. You know, am I on the same wavelength as the other person or not? That's
Yeah.
universal.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like people will complain about, miscommunication and they're like, all these problems could have been solved if these people had just talked to each other. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, real people don't talk to each other. Like,
No, no.
that's how human beings are, and that's how you tell a compelling love story is by having them act like human beings, not like characters.
Yeah. And I mean, even in real life, you could, be so clear with someone and plead and beg with them to just tell them how
Right.
you're feeling, and they won't because they just
They
literally
can't.
can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So, um, so it doesn't usually work out that great. It's easy to be a
Yeah.
Monday morning quarterback, right? Like I don't have any qualms about how that all went down. Like, as much as you'd be frustrated by it, like, oh, well, of course they like each other. It's patently obvious to us. But,
Hmm.
they need to work through that, and that's part of the story.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, like you can be very sure that like they're both good people who are just like doing their best. And
Right.
sometimes their best sucks, but
Yeah.
like they're doing their best. Neither of them is like going in with the intention of hurting other people.
Right. And even at the beginning, like maybe I'll call it a glimmer of doubt, like, okay, like, well, what's this hookup situation about? Like, what's the game here? But that just goes away so quickly in the scheme of
Hmm.
things. It's like, all right, no, actually, we hook up because we like hooking up with each other. There's absolutely no malicious intent. So then what's going on?
Right.
I think the other thing that's hard about like consuming media like this, where like you're consuming years of history, in a short period of time,
Hmm.
it's easy to go into Monday morning quarterbacking more and go, oh, well, certainly I would have done this. But like, it's
Right.
hard to read a book or watch a show, even several episodes or, 300-page book and go, oh, right, this was going on over periods of years. Like,
Right.
Think about somebody you've known for like a year or year and a half. Like that's not even the beginning of this relationship.
Right. And yeah, and they started out as like literal children. And I think that's something the book does really well is I felt at least like the internal monologue, like the internal thoughts did feel like they were getting older. You know what I mean? Like teenage Shane and Ilya felt like teenage Shane and they felt like teenage boys
Hmm.
to me.
Yeah, I agree.
So like yeah, so I mean because that's also like not only are they men, so they're emotionally dummies. No offense. Not only are they hockey players, so they're dummies, partially due to probably many concussions. Not like not only are they gay, are they queer men in fucking 2012? Like gay marriage is not even legal in the United States yet at this point when their relationship begins. They're all of those things, and they're also fucking kids for like the beginning. Like, of course they're gonna fuck
Right.
up.
Right. I mean, and even like a lot of it, even they're not in their teens, they're in their early 20s. Like, we know that your brain's not developed then either.
Yeah,
More to go. And it's not like they're like I think a lot of people do a lot of growing up in college, or at least like a lot of social growing up.
right.
And it's like they're not doing that either. They're just playing hockey. So,
Right, they're already adults. They're already adults being paid. I looked up, by the way, hockey players, like the minimum NHL salary is like 800,000. That's like when you're starting, and they certainly like maybe they start out like that, but within a few years, like they're making multiple millions of dollars. And that's just from their NHL salary. That's like not even like Shane's
sponsorships and
fucking
stuff.
doing Rolex and like
Yeah.
Reebok, like
Well, then we certainly can't afford to buy a building to hook up in, I guess.
yeah, you fucking invest in a whole apartment complex. Mr. Real Estate, Mr. Businessman. Where's my Scott? Where was my hot hockey player running in his sweaty shirt and tipping me generously when I was working food service?
It's like, yeah, wink, put the extra banana in. Thanks. Yeah, where is that happening to me?
Where's that? Why can't this happen to me? It's
Uh,
just
I
rude.
mean, and yeah, you could say, I guess maybe that's a critique of the Scott and Kip story, right? Like that just feels unrealistic.
Well, I don't know about that.
Part of it does, like, oh, it's such a chance encounter. A professional hockey players come into your smoothie shop. You're a starving artist. Also, you're just jacked. I mean,
Well,
there's
again,
a lot of
here's
critical.
I have seen the response a lot of people the response to being like why the fuck is Kip like more ripped than the professional athletes being like well Kip is just gay like that's why it's because Kip is a gay man in New York.
Super fair, super fair, super fair. He's probably spending this extra money in Equinox. That's fine.
Like, he's a gay man from Brooklyn like
Right. That's fine. I'm not trying to hate on Kip. He's cute, obviously, but
he's cute.
at least partially, like with Shane and Ilya, you can say, well, it's not even the realm of like reality for me that I'm a professional hockey player making that much money. So I don't even know. I can't even try to relate to it, so I'm not, right? Like
Hmm.
part of I think the Scott and Kip thing is like Kip you theoretically could relate to, like, well, you lived in New York. You could have worked at a smoothie place in Brooklyn. I don't know.
Sure.
So I think there's like maybe a little more realism you could pull from that, or little you could relate to it more. Because most of us, unless there's something I don't know, like most of us aren't professional hockey players or
Oh, actually, this. I actually asked you to come on this episode so I could tell you
did
that
you tell me?
I've been playing for the Flyers for the past 10 years, actually.
Wow, are you gritty?
I'm gritty. I'm gritty.
I'm a little mad.
Surprise!
I'm a little mad that Gritty didn't have a cameo in the show. I think that would have been.
I'm so hoping that season two, because there were you know that they like asked like different brands if they could like use that, and they said no, but like all of that, like all of them better be like paying to feature in the show. If the Philadelphia Flyers, and we did get a Philly shout out, by the way. Ilya was like, like even though we beat Philly, like Philly's always a little feral. Like the crowd here is a little like
Yeah,
he's like, I like
right.
the Philly crowd, even though they hate me. And I was like, "Oh, why do I feel so like complimented?"
I feel heard.
Yeah, I was like, thank you. And that was before Gritty.
Right.
For the listeners who are unaware of what Gritty is, by the way, is he's this 7 foot tall, like fur, bright orange fur, for lack of a better term, monster, with these like wide staring eyes that don't blink and this like wide mouth that's ostensibly supposed to be a smile, but definitely couldn't eat you at any time. And he's the mascot for the NHL hockey team, the Philadelphia Flyers. Um, when he was first introduced, he was like met with horror. But this was also around the same time that we were all saying that the Babadook is like a gay icon. So Gritty's reception quickly became one of deep, abiding love and affection. If the new book doesn't have Shane or Ilya commenting on Gritty, well, like I need that. I actually need that to be in the book now.
I think we need a whole book, a whole separate book about Gritty and another mascot getting together. Like we're gay too.
Wait, we're ready, 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 ready. Because Gritty's immortal, right? So we can do like Shane and Ilya have a kid, and that kid goes into pro hockey and falls in love with Gritty. And they fuck in the Gritty costume.
Yes. I mean, like, can you imagine the description in the book of like,
His
uh,
fur was so
I didn't want him to take off the costume.
his wide, crazy eyes were so.
Oh, I could, as I watch his wide, crazy eyes between my legs, like, okay. Uh, I think there's something there. No,
I know I have seen tell that the fan fiction entries for Heated Rivalry like increased by like 1,000% on
uh,
AO3.
I would think.
So listener, if you have found a Gritty Heated Rivalry romance fan fiction, I would I would love to read it. Even if you know what I'm picturing now. So I don't think Shane and Ilya would be into threesomes. I don't know whether you have an opinion on this. I have given this to thought. I think they're just both so like possessive of each other. They would not like sharing.
I would agree. Like, especially watching like the like Rosalie Andrews stuff, it's like apparently that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not into threesomes, but I'm picturing a scene, they're fucking, and Gritty is in like the cuck chair. Like Gritty's in the corner on like a leather armchair with like a glass of whiskey, just watching. And like the eyes are wide, the mouth is insane.
I feel like that might be actually a very effective ad for whiskey
Oh my God. Or I thought you were gonna say for Gritty, like for the
or for
wine.
Gritty or either. Um, you know, Gritty enjoys a good time too.
I actually want a fan fiction of, I'm not fan fiction, fan art. If there are any fan artists,
Fan artists.
I would love, like, I can picture it in my, I can't draw it, but like, I'm picturing like, just like, it's like from behind, you just see like the vague outline of like Gritty and then like dark shapes on the bed, and then like slowly the camera pans.
I think this is a sign that we need some Gritty infusion into this universe.
We need more artists. Why don't we have more artists in our lives that we can ask to make this Gritty
I
fan
know.
art?
I think it'd be a big hit too.
God
Think
damn it. I think it'd be
like
such a big hit. Shirt,
a
t-shirt.
shirt, t-shirts. The Flyers just had Pride Night too, so like,
Yeah.
they missed out.
Yeah.
They should have
And
had this
listen,
material.
apparently it was very Heated Rivalry inspired. Like I heard from people that went, like
I heard the same.
They played all the things she said, that a lot of people were in like Hollander and Rosenoff's shirts.
If people are very interested in this. They need to capitalize.
Like Gritty is a gay icon already.
Right. Well, Gritty
So,
has to, like, obviously is on some queer spectrum. Yeah, we don't
oh,
know.
obviously. Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I
but
don't want to like
obviously.
assume Gritty's I don't want
Gritty's
to
not,
assume Gritty's gender, Gritty's sexual preference. Like,
yeah, but Gritty's
no.
definitely not 100% straight. Like,
Gritty is not cishet. I'll tell you
no,
that
no,
much.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
no,
this.
no, 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 no. We know this.
We
So,
know this. We've known it since they introduced that psychotic mascot.
honestly, I think we need Gritty's creator to step in and give us more data.
What if, I'm about to get crazy here. What if we got the creator of Gritty falls in love with the Gritty actor? And it's like Grittyception. That would kind, you know what that kind of, it would kind of be like a Dr. Frankenstein and the monster scenario. You know what I mean? Like
It
the
would.
father and the creation. I'm picturing
That'd be special.
Steve Buscemi from Spy Kids 2, where he's like,
Oh
"Do
my
you think
God.
God stays up in heaven because he too fears what he's."
The creator of Gritty stays up. It's like, man, what did I do? But
What have I done?
obviously, I mean, much like Heated Rivalry, Gritty just really took off. Gritty came from nowhere.
Yeah, another gay icon coming
Another
from
gay
nowhere.
icon coming out of hockey. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
happen every day. But no, I think playing with
Oh
the
man.
mascot stuff would be interesting, like an interesting different like portion of the story to tell. Or even like if we want to get into like, obviously there's like people I can't say I know that much about how sports ball works, right? But obviously there are, little guys that travel with the team and carry their stuff, like
Little guys that
little
travel with the team.
guys, little jockeys, little golf cart drivers, um, except for hockey and hockey sticks. Like I think we maybe had a little romance with one of them. Like, oh,
There is a guy I saw on TikTok before I deleted TikTok. There is a guy who seems to be in charge of the sticks, and
okay,
like each like everyone has their own stick, right? Because you can't just it's like, you know, it's like golf clubs, right? You can't have like a universal stick.
yeah.
Like it has to be like it changes from the person. So like there is a guy who knows everybody's stick and is like ready with replacements because like apparently sticks break all the time. So he's just like sitting by the side, ready to like throw sticks when like the players come. And that feels like it could be something.
That feels, I don't know. That feels kind of like, oh, like I'll give you my big hard stick.
My banana.
Like,
There is one point in which Ilya eats, quote, a dill pickle suggestively, unquote. So
that is true. That is true. That does happen.
Rachel, like, don't tell me that you can't do it because you've done it before.
She can handle this.
She can do this. I have every faith in Rachel Reid.
I feel like we've given her a lot of ideas today that
Yeah.
we could really run with. And they
Yeah.
can interact with Shane and Ilya. Like maybe they'll get into a three-way with the little hockey stick boy. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know that.
Maybe he's in the cuck chair. Like, who knows? You
Maybe they're
know?
going to
Maybe
become a
he's just
polycule
watching.
and they'll be all jealous of each other
Maybe he's, yeah.
at the cottage. Polycule cottage. They all live at the cottage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they all join apparently in the second Ilya and Shane book, they all join because Ilya joins the like Ottawa team.
Right.
And apparently he's just like essentially spends the rest of the series like assembling, like creating like the gay hockey Avengers, where he's
Oh,
just like he like first of all like because he doesn't clock, so basically like Ilya's like, I didn't clock that Scott Hunter was gay, and that is the greatest shame of my life, so I'm gonna spend the rest of my career clocking all the other gay players and like gathering them like infinity stones like
like
to make like the gay hockey Avengers like team.
I love that for him.
That's what it seems to be. And they all go to the cottage. They all have like their summer retreats at the cottage.
Oh, hmm, I bet
Hmm.
that's a good time.
Shane's got enough bedrooms. Just saying.
Only the one with the attached bath, though.
Yeah, only one has an
To be
ensuite.
to be clear.
Allegedly, the show tries to convince us that they all have king beds. None of those beds is a king bed. In the books, they say king beds, but none of those beds is a king.
That that is true. That is true. They were trying to do that.
I did feel gaslit by that. I was like, that bed is not a king bed. Don't try to lie to me.
No way. I did clock that as well. I thought there was little bit different portrayals of the cottage, I'll say. Some variation, but that's okay.
Hmm. Yeah. There's only so many, there's
Yeah,
only so many beautiful waterfront cottages or mansions that you can rent out to film at
in Canada, yes.
in Canada. Yeah.
Specifically.
Specifically in Canada. I do like that we had the internal monologue where Ilya was like, why the fuck does he call this a cottage? Like, this isn't a fucking cottage.
It's like thanks for saying what we were all thinking,
Yeah,
Ilya.
thank you.
Very, very helpful.
Well, apparently Rachel Reid, she was like, that's a Canadian thing. She's like, my editor was also like, why are you calling this a fucking cottage? Like, it's not a
They're just
cottage.
calling anything a
And
cottage up there.
she's apparently anything that's like a second home, like a vacation home, is a cottage in Canada, is how she,
I see.
yeah.
I did not know that about Canada, but I guess that makes sense. Like, because I was
Does
like,
it?
I mean,
Does
well, it makes there had to be a reason for it because I'm kind of being like, is calling this a cottage like are they we being facetious? Oh, it's a cottage. I
Okay,
didn't know
wait.
what.
Wait, so I just looked up the definition of cottage. So first of all, yes, the definition of cottage is a small, simple house, typically one near a lake or a beach. So the fact that it's near a lake is correct. The fact that it is a small, simple, not a small, simple house, incorrect. However, the second thing that came up for definition of cottage, tell me if you've heard this one before, Braun. It says informal British English,
Okay.
perform to cottage, perform homosexual acts in a public bathroom.
No, I've never heard that.
Was British.
Like as a
To
verb?
cottage. Like, so used in a the sentence example is they said that at some point in their lives they've cottaged or cruised in parks.
Oh, like it's a synonym for cruising?
It seems to be similar, but the definition does include specifically that it's in a public bathroom.
No,
Whereas
no.
cruising, from in my understanding, is like you're kind of just like wandering around, like finding people to hook up with.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's not a specific location for cruising.
No.
Correct.
Like you're finding a person and a place, I would
Yes.
say. No, I've never, ever heard of that. Maybe
To
that's a thing.
cottage.
Maybe that's a thing in the UK.
It says it's British slang.
Yeah. It must be a thing in the UK. Like I've never,
To cottage.
no, no, can't say
I'm
I've,
not really understanding where that's coming from. Like cruise, I can get because like you're cruising around.
right.
To cottage, I don't get.
No, I don't get that. If you were to ask me what that meant, I would say, does that mean you're going with your gay lover to their cottage for several weeks over the summer, just see what
That's what I was like.
happens?
Is that like the gay version of like U-hauling? Like
To
to
co
cottage?
And honestly, because of this, that's probably going to become a thing.
What it is, like coming to the cottage.
Yeah, like lesbians U-Haul is gays cottage. I'm coming to the cottage. I'm coming to the cottage. I'm coming in the cottage.
I've never left the cottage.
I'm coming in every room in the cottage.
Well, Ilya does say that is his goal.
Yeah. And I've had that happen in a cottage once upon a time.
Oh, have
But
you? Oh, have you? That's the first time I'm hearing about this.
I wouldn't say it was a cottage though. Similar
Well,
vein.
was it like a Canadian cottage?
No, it was an American cottage.
Oh, okay. On that note, anything else to say, Prawn, before as we wrap up? Anything else to say about Heated Rivalry?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really am excited for
Mhm.
subsequent seasons, I think. I think there's definitely more to dig into here. I'm very likely to go back and read the first book now because
Yeah, I was gonna ask, are you gonna read the rest of the books?
I'm certainly going to read the first book. We'll see, how I progress with the rest. But I certainly want more Scott and Kip.
Mhm.
I just, like me, I happen to connect to them more than I connected to Shane and
Yeah,
Ilya. And I think it's because I'm just, like, not as competitive. Like, I can be a little bit more,
they're much more normal.
they seem more normal. That seems just,
Yeah.
like, more attainable. And I guess perhaps be critical of myself. Like I could be a little bit obsessive too. Like, and it seems like they kind of just latch and stay.
Hmm.
So, like, I just related to that more.
Hmm.
So, I'll be consuming more Heated Rivalry in different
Okay.
regards. I was talking to a friend recently about this, and he and I guess all the other gays, um, people are watching like the Kiss on the Ice video to keep them alive, keep them emotionally stable. Like that's how important it is to gay culture right now.
I mean, the fandom is called the Loons. Like that's now the
Oh,
official fandom name.
like from the cottage.
Yeah, like from the cottage. But you know what? Do you know what a group of loons is called?
I do not.
It's called an asylum.
Okay.
So I feel
Well,
like that's fitting
feels pretty fitting.
in terms of like the mass psychosis.
Sign me up, send me to the asylum.
I for real heard when I was reading the scene in the book, the kiss on the ice scene. Like the song was in my head.
I listened to the song in my car driving to work and I cry a little. I'm like, oh, wow, it's the only time I've really felt something. My most recent song that I was like connected to was
Yeah.
the George Michael song, Father Figure.
Oh, well, of course.
Of
Yes.
course, of
That's a
course.
classic.
I feel like we need that in subsequent episodes as well. I feel like that could be a nice tie-in.
Okay, wait. One of the later books, I forget which one. I think it's Eric. I think Eric and Kyle are a couple. That feels similar. Kyle, the bartender from the Kingfisher from the gay bar that Kip's friend, and
Yeah, I
Eric,
was wondering if he was going to come back. Okay.
yeah, and Eric's mentioned in the book. I don't know whether he's mentioned in the show, but he's like mentioned as one of the like random side hockey players. But he's like older, like it's a little bit of like an age gap. So I feel like father figure could kind of for their story that could be their song.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something there.
I also say apparently Shane and Ilya's because they do get married in the later books. They do have like a
Okay.
wedding. And their wedding song is Diamonds by Rihanna. And
Oh,
I've been seeing a lot of discussions about how we would like maybe a different song in the show. So there's an that's an I don't think it's father figure, but
not
I
for
think there's an
them. Not for
opportunity.
them.
Something similar to Scott and Kip's song, I think, to that song. Like something sort of like more like indie rock, an older song, but not like so old.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I just don't see diamonds for them.
No.
I'm not sure what
I'll have to let you know what the context for that. I feel like I'm missing some context for why that is the song that Rachel Reid went with.
there has to be a reason. There has to
Yeah,
be.
because that book came out in 2024. So like there's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's not because Diamonds was like the song of the summer, you know.
No. No.
Like
Certainly not.
I feel like there's probably some context that I'm missing. I'll let you know when I get to that book.
I I would highly recommend a different song. Even like I mean like back to George Michael like Freedom would be a better song for
Yeah.
them like than I mean that.
I feel like a George Michael or like a Ricky Martin
Yeah, like
even like a Queen, like a Freddie Mercury.
yeah, I think that would fit with their vibe. I mean, it would be like I don't know, like a punchy. Diamond's just not punchy to me unless there's a really like
Yeah.
good reason.
Yeah, I feel like we gotta and if it is diamonds, like if there is a good reason, like I would like a cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe a more folksy cover. You know, the way that like Bridgerton does like the instrumentals. Something like that.
Yeah, well, Bridgerton, I mean, very artfully does the instrumental, like
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity here.
I trust them. They made good music decisions. The soundtrack was good.
Oh, absolutely. Both fit the tone like that it needed to fit, and also the era, because it's easy to forget that most of this isn't taking place like presently.
It's a period drama.
Like it is a period piece, and I think that's something we didn't really address. That like,
No,
we're
yeah.
looking at it from a 2026 lens, which you could argue we're like further back, but we'll put that aside for a second. Um, but like, yeah, like, part of the story is happening like before even gay marriage is legalized in the US,
Yeah,
and or like contemporaneously with that. And that was a really
right.
different time. And I think, you have to give some credit there that like, okay, like, well, we're like, 10 plus years out. Like certainly things are going to change and be
Hmm.
different like in that way.
Right. Especially when it comes to being gay in
Yeah.
North America, in the United States,
Or even
like
being like a professional hockey player and being gay, like,
is it's yeah, it changed astronomically. Like it's been almost 20 years since the beginning of their relationship, since when they meet. Like it's like 2008, I think, when they meet.
right.
So it's been almost 20 years.
Yeah. So, I think it's easy to forget that. Like I wasn't watching it 24/7 or remembering that even. So, even though like the date's coming up every 15 seconds, like, oh, just the next day, the next day.
The timeline was, I thought I would do better with the timeline in the book because I'd be able to like see it. No. It's
No,
still just the timeline just kind of washed over. I just let that kind of wash over me.
it might as well like some of them like 2 years apart. They might as well have been the next week for me.
I'm
Like,
like,
I don't
this could
know.
have happened in 2 weeks and I would have been equally on board. Like,
Yeah, yeah. That I would not say that that's a strong suit. Like I feel like I don't know how we could have emphasized it more and made it more of a thing. But like, what are you supposed to do other than to
no,
say
right.
time passed, period, the end?
Right. Like there's no way to do that. Yeah.
I mean, the show could have been like a montage of like,
I mean, they
current
did a lot of
events,
montages. Yeah, what?
current events
Like
happening in between.
Obama's elected president because they meet before Obama gets elected.
It's crazy. But yeah, like,
It's
they could have done in like montages to make like it seem like, oh, okay, time's passing, audience.
They did do that a little bit with like the one my favorite montage is the one where like Ilya, they're slamming each other against the boards and then it like cuts to them slamming each other against various surfaces.
Yeah, and yeah, that was a good one. But even if they did that, like I think it would have just detracted from the story and been distracting. And you still would have like resulted with the same thing. Like time's passing, you're either understanding or you're not. And it actually doesn't really matter.
Right.
Well, anyway, this was good.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming on. Do you have anything you would like to plug? What is your handle
It's Brawny Boo.
on Instagram? Okay.
It is. It is. Um, I just live a domestic gay life
He
with two
does.
dogs.
As an elected official,
I'm an elected official in my town.
he's local politics. Run for local election, guys. Local politics is where you can make the most influence.
You really can. And I will say that, one of the most rewarding parts of it is people, like, at least in my community, people who've lived here a long time who are gay, like, reach out to me after I won or after I've been in office and just were super appreciative that I did it, that I took the time to do it, and, just couldn't really express how grateful they were to see somebody like me in an elected position. So, you should do it. It's a thankless job, but
Yeah.
beyond that, it's fine.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, you can call your senators and your represent state and federal representatives all you want, but the more local you get is the more impact you can have on like every day.
Yeah, and the important part is to like remember that like you can do it and you can get elected. It's not as hard as you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't take there's some statistic where it's like relatively little amount of money to like
I used like no personal funds to do it. I
yeah.
just had a group of, local people who supported me because I volunteered on election day one time.
Yeah.
And, it's just a lot of door knocking and talking to people, which sounds awful. And I'm an introvert. I don't do that. And it was not as bad as I thought it was. And
Yeah.
98% of the time, people were happy to see me at their door.
Yeah. Yeah.
even even people I didn't agree with politically.
Right. Yeah, run for local elections. The romance community is very active in that, actually. Like they constant there's like auctions like all the time, and like the Fated Mates podcast, which I've talked about before, listener, runs Fated States every year where they like phone bank and like they pledge like if you're gonna run for like school board or like local positions, they pledge like $1,000 to your like campaign. Like so their support in romance and in local communities.
Yeah, and school board is, I mean, I'm not on school board,
Yeah.
but I mean, like that's just so important,
Yeah.
so important, and so difficult, to deal with on a day to day with all the stuff going on. Like at
Yeah.
least what I'm dealing with is like zoning, and like nobody's. That's not necessarily as life or death is like what kids are being taught in school, whether they're being taught like abject truth or
Yeah.
lies.
And I mean, we saw that in a county without giving away too much of our location. At a county very near us, like in a school district very near us, made like national news because like Moms for Liberty
Yeah,
took over their school board and have thankfully now been kicked out in elections.
like
But
way
like
out.
it's that easy. They still
Yeah.
but they still had like however I don't know how long the school board term was, but how 4 to 6 years of influence, you know,
Yeah, I think 4 years.
4 years.
School
Yeah.
boards, like at least here. But no, it's easy and you can do it, and there's a lot of organizations to help you. And if you're like looking for a place to put your money, like oftentimes putting it in like the federal races or the presidential races, as much as you might be tempted to do so, just isn't worth your money. Like you should put it in local races because it really can make a difference there.
Right.
Or in special elections and stuff. And I know Oath does a lot of good work with that. Like if you're looking for
Hmm.
like specific places to it. I don't know if you've heard of Oath, Allison,
I
but
haven't actually.
um yeah, his name's Brian Derrick. He has an Instagram, and he just basically runs an organization that like is all about putting money like where it's most impactful.
Oh, nice.
So like, you might
Yeah.
be tempted to like, you ex-Bernie bros out there, maybe like, oh, I'm gonna, send money to Bernie. Like, really, please don't send money there. Or, like, don't
Yeah.
like send money to like a race that you can actually make a difference in. It might not even be in your state. It might be in,
Right.
a special election in Kansas. But
Right. But even like our sheriff, the new sheriff, like just ended the county's agreement with ICE and like the previous and like ran on that, to kick out the previous sheriff. So like, and that is going to be really impactful for all of the, immigrants that live in our community. So,
like super impactful. Like, I don't even know how to express it. And like to express how much of a win this is, you can go out now around town and not be picked up by your local police and like deported.
right. Right. Yeah. Nothing to do with gay hockey, but run
Nothing
for
to do with
local
gay hockey.
elections. Run for your local
Run for
elections.
local
They
elections,
happen every year too. Like,
Yeah,
and vote in your local elections because most local elections are won, like some of them are won by like a margin of like a few hundred or a few thousand votes. And like that, your presidential election, like if you don't vote, maybe you influence it, maybe you don't. Local election, if you don't vote, there's a strong chance that like,
yeah.
your voice isn't going to be represented because of that.
And there are other places where like, around here where like supervisors like me like won with like a margin of 1 or 2 or 3 votes. Like
Yeah.
it really does make a difference. And these local officials, oftentimes you're not going to interact with them. Like if you're not going, trying to get a zoning variance or like, you're not
Hmm.
worried about your real estate tax or whatever. But like if you have something like an environmental crisis, like a fuel spill or anything like that, like these local officials are on the ground with you and
Huge
they're the
AI
ones
data centers opening up
data
near
center,
us. Like,
anything like that. These local officials are your conduit to other officials, and
hmm
they're your voice, and like you should be able to use them and rely on them, and it's so
hmm
important. And like I've gone through it. Like I've sat in meetings this year till 2 o'clock in the morning because of crises that have happened here that were
hmm
completely unexpected. But people need help, and it's, your job as a local official to help them. And if you care about that and that's something you're passionate about, then please go run. Because there's a lot of
Mhm.
people that are on these local boards that have been on these boards for decades and they just
Yeah.
kind of are phoning it in. And nobody deserves that. You deserve somebody who's going to advocate for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, run for local office. Don't be afraid of it. You can still have a full-time job. I have a full-time job. This is not my full-time job.
Yeah.
Um, I live a full life beyond it, but it's a really what it is public service, and it's an important public service, and there's people much more deserving of it than the people that are elected in a lot of
Right.
cases.
Right.
It's a privilege to do it too.
Right. And in a lot of places, like a lot of times you run unopposed. A lot of times these people are just running unopposed. Like they win not because they're the best candidates, because literally no one else is running against them. I mean, I wrote myself in. I told you about this last
Yeah, right,
election. There was a
right.
position where there was literally no one. And I was like, whatever. And like, listener, I didn't win because again, like I'm the only person voting for myself. Like that's silly. But if I had known in advance and been like, I want to run for this and gotten like probably even like 50 people from the
Yeah.
town to write in my name, it's like, it's that easy.
How do I even get into this? And it's like literally find your local organization and ask to volunteer on election day, meet the people who are working the polls, and
Right.
I'm sure they'll be calling you when they're looking for a candidate. It's as easy as
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you should be volunteering on election day anyway, because election day is becoming, unfortunately, like more of a battlefield than it should be. Like it should
Right.
be pretty innocuous, but it's not.
Right. There's certainly an attack on free and fair elections going on. So
Yeah, and you don't have to stand for that. You can run for office, make the decisions. So that's that.
that's that. All right, listener. As usual, you can find the podcast on socials at We Read It One Night, and you can email me, we read it one night at gmail.com. Make sure you leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. And if you have another book that you would like to do a deep dive on, or a topic, or an author that you would like to hear on the podcast, or if you would like Braun to come back, if you would like me to bully him to come back, let me know. Slide into my DMs, slide into my emails, write it in a review. Thank you so much for listening and Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed.